Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, aka Man of the People, and I earned that name because I love working for the fans of the Carolina Panthers. We're a 100% independent media, which means we can do what you guys like, all right? So if you have not done so, you're new to the channel, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. The bigger we grow, the more access that we can get to players and coaches because everybody likes to be someplace where there's lots of people tuning in and watching. So now that's not to say, let me not get ahead of you guys, that you're gonna have Bryce Young on the show or you see me talking one-on-one with Bryce Young. But other players and things, other players and other coaches, it really does help. The more we grow, the more players that I can have access to. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into it. Thank you everybody for joining me this late Tuesday evening. And we go live. My videos are 90% plus live because I like to interact with you, all right? So comments are always open. Not tonight, but most times there's also a link that's in the description for you to come on the show, make your comments, ask me your questions, right? I love to interact with you. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the Carolina Panthers are continuing their off-season workouts and practices. Currently, the media does not have access this week to go into practice. I believe I have to look at my calendar. I think that's next week. Look at the dates again. Next week, we'll be back able to watch practice firsthand. But right now, we were able to talk with some coaches and continue to just get some insight on things. And of course, they're not giving you a lot of information yet because, and I understand you got a new coaching staff, you got new players, you got a new franchise quarterback. Keep that secret about details as long as you can to give yourself that advantage when taking on your opponent. So, but I'm going to share with you what I can, and also last two videos, hey, YouTube really appreciate the viewership, appreciate the subscribers, and that's why I'm here late because it was a long day. It was tough for me to get in front of the camera. I said I'm going to do it and stay committed to you all. So I'm going to also go back and answer some of the questions that I have not yet got a chance to answer from the previous videos, right? So if you had a question in the previous video, stay tuned, watch to the end. I'm going to try to answer all of your questions. So let me first get started with a few transactions that have taken place since last week when we had the rookie minicamp. We had a lot of people with tryouts. So there were several things that took place since then. So starting out with the transactions, okay, so we waived safety Nico Bolden. We signed linebacker Ace Ely. We also signed outside linebacker Jordan Thomas. Now, what I do want to share is that the Panthers signed three former XFL guys. All right, three of them they've signed. And so Jordan is one of those three that was signed. We also signed wide receiver Marquez Stevenson. So Marquez was not one of the XFL players, but he was indeed a former six-round pick of the Buffalo Bills out of Houston that has been signed. And then we signed defensive back Vernon Scott. We signed wide receiver Gary Jennings. Now, Gary Jennings is one of those XFL players. And then we signed defensive end Antoine Jackson. He is again an XFL player. And then we signed tackle B.J. Wilson. So the three XFL guys were Jordan Thomas, Gary Jennings, and Antoine Jackson. And then Marquez Stevens, you see, he was a former six-round pick by the Bills. And then you see all the other ones that are there. So those would be your latest transactions for this Carolina Panthers football team as of Tuesday. That could change, and I'll continue to update you all on those changes. And then also thought I'd throw this in here. Let's look at this draft order one more time right here. So we have signed three of these five draft picks. Not surprisingly, the two that are not signed is going to be your number one pick, Bryce Young, and then your number two pick, Jonathan Mingo. But edge rusher, DJ Johnson, Chandler Zavala, Jamie Robinson, they have all signed their contracts and are officially a Carolina Panther. So today, I'm just going to quickly go over my takeaways from the interviews it was Chris Tabor, it was Thomas Brown, and Evero. I I can't say his first name yet, so I don't want to butcher that. In no particular order, going with Thomas Brown. He talked more about liking Bryce Young. Talked about he gave some more insight in terms of why they were sold on him. Said that there was a point during the conversation where they try to really throw him off guard. Frank was trying to do that, and how poised and how just really poised that Bryce responded to that. Didn't seem like he was feeling the pressure from that, as well as again talking about that long. I think he might have said 17-minute explanation on his routine after playing a big game on Saturday and how he goes to prepare for the next week. And he said most guys will give you like a 5-minute response to that, but at the 17-minute mark is, as we've all heard, he's like, okay, that's enough. We get it. So it really seems like with him, Bryce was a guy that as you meet and you talk to, you just like his football IQ. You like the way he loves football, the way he goes about his routines, and all that stuff. And even, just last week in rookie minicamp, got to see how just smooth and non-jittery that he looked. He looked really comfortable back there. Now, again, I like to keep perspective. He was in shorts and a helmet playing against guys that really weren't going to come after him. But it's still a good positive step, right? It's still a good positive step. Once again, watching the video, turn your phone to the side if it's wide or something like that. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us out tremendously. And I can promise you the bigger we grow, the more that you'll see us doing. We'll continue to bring you a lot of content. I like to call it Bryce Young Central this year, but we'll let you. The channel name will remain the same, but we're just really committed to covering the Carolina Panthers in depth and in the way that you want us to, not just what I think, but what you want us to do this year. My co-host Andre Cassidy isn't with me that much during the offseason, but you will see him working with me as well, getting you all that content during the season. All right, let's go on a little bit more. So one thing that I do want to bring to you, and I forgot to load it up, but it won't take me long, I don't think, is Coach Brown talking about the identity of this Carolina football team on the offensive side and what that will look like. So let me go ahead and play that clip for you.
Yeah, kind of same thing I said from day one in our opening press conference. As I said to the rookie this past weekend, I think it kind of fits down into, first off, is being physical at every position. That, to me, for us offensively, is kind of a non-negotiable. It's kind of one of the great neutralizers when it comes to this game. I think being able to establish line of scrimmage, which our O-line and Coach Campy and Coug did a great job on last year, trying to just build upon that. But then to me, it goes from just the physical element to how do we find, create and win matchups. That could be with, pre-snap motions. That could be regular motions, fly sweep motions. It could be getting man-zone indicators to try to figure out how to exploit the defense from a matchup standpoint. But also could be in-line-wise. That we have a matchup with a guard or 3 technique. Might be kind of setting some front certain ways to be able to get some combination work with those guys week in and week out. And the last point, after we talk about being physical, we talk about finding, creating, winning matchups. It was, for us, we call it TNT. All right, so things that take no talent. So alignment, assignment, technique, right, effort, and finish. Things we can control every single day to put ourselves in the best spot to be successful and ultimately not putting ourselves in a spot we give the defense an opportunity by beating ourselves. So the penalties, the bad technique, the missed assignments, we want to just major in those things. So, being physical at every position, right, find, create, and win matchups, and then major in the TNT is what we talked about offensively.
So I like that. I liked everything he said. I really, I don't know about you all, but the takeaway that I had the most from that is the TNT. I think if I've never heard it before, perhaps you have, but if I was a coach somewhere, I'm going to take that because I love it. Coaching kids, and I'm thinking of youth in particular, but coaching people saying, hey, the TNT stuff, that's going to get people's attention. You think explosives, that's what I think of. But things that take no talent, like you can be great at the things that take no talent, which is another way of saying attention to detail and effort. So that's Brown's take on the offense. Again, the rest of the stuff was, hey, will Bryce be the starter? I don't know. Most of the rookies are taking as many snaps as they can, especially in position where you have veterans, to get them acclimated with this system. He did say in his eyes, one of the biggest adjustments for these guys that are rookies to come into the pros is the lifestyle adjustment. You know, they're now a lot of them making a ton of money and living away where they're adults. They can do whatever they want. There's nobody watching over them. So making sure that those guys stay focused on that adjustment, going from the college life to the pros. Touched on the fact that yeah, there's some older guys, but in the evaluation older guys. Let me give a little bit more clarification. Like COVID caused some players to now have 5-6 years worth of experience in college, so they're a little bit older when they're coming out right now. Since that really didn't play too much of a role in the evaluation of players, you're still just looking for players to fit needs that you currently have on your team. And one other thing I'll touch on is, okay, how much of this will be Frank Reich and how much of this will be Thomas Brown? He said, the goal is about 50-50, but in all honesty, it's probably about a 60-40. But even within that, it's just going to still be like game to game what you're doing, what you're needing to do. But Frank Reich will be calling the plays on game day. All right, let's quickly touch on, well, not quickly because I'm trying to rush, but it's just brief points. Chris Tabor, special teams, said, he is fortunate to have some veterans back. Didn't have to work as many pieces to figure out as they may at other positions or parts of the team with J.J. Jansen coming back. Zane, man, I'm gonna embarrass myself here on live TV. I can't remember the punter's name at this exact second, which is pretty awful. So I'm just I can see Hecker. I didn't get to it yet, but Johnny Hecker. It's fortunate, and they will have to monitor those guys' reps a little bit, but that's not a challenge. This is not the offense where they're going to be getting so many plays and practicing so many variations. They already have a schedule which they go, and worst case scenario, there's this thing called the jug machine, right? They can punt the ball, can kick the ball, do what those guys do just to simulate that for the team's sake, and still give those guys a rest. So those were the comments from Tabor that I want to share with you all. And Evero, defensive coordinator, I don't have anything that I took away from his point. I did listen to it. He talked about Jamie Robinson being an intelligent player, that at Florida State played many different positions, and to just really continue to evaluate these guys. So that's why I always say in these early on videos, I know there's people that just want Panthers content galore. I love to give it, but I also like to give as much kind of factual stuff versus hypotheticals that could be so far different from what's going on in even a month because you haven't seen these guys in pads. So a lot of evaluations going on. He even talked about in the defensive lineup, how much will we see Jeremy Chin at what positions? Don't want to say yet because he's still figuring that out. Does he like to have a certain player as a nickel, or does he, how does he work that? Doesn't know yet. He's still figuring that out. If there's just a nickel guy, or if you want a guy that can play nickel in other positions as well. So that's why I say not a lot, because it was just kind of that to be continued type of information. So we'll again ask you to subscribe, ask you to hit that like button. We'll continue to bring you every day that there's news, big or small. We'll bring you the updates live. And now I'm going to take some time to go over some questions from some previous videos in which I did not have a chance to, because I say I'm always going to take the time to make sure I answer those questions. So let's see here. Sideshow 1940 says, love your insider takeaways from practice. Sorry I'm not able to have those today, but I appreciate that, Sideshow. 704 run up. I can't say it because it's late maybe, but appreciate the comments. Let's see. T1 Up says, wouldn't count Matt Corral out. And yeah, you don't want to count him out. He's definitely hungry. He's super hungry for an opportunity, super hungry to show his talent. So that right now is getting one of those way too early to tell, because I still don't have much experience watching him, because we all saw him in the preseason last year and he got hurt pretty early on, and you weren't able to see him in very, very competitive matchups to see, but we'll definitely be watching. Let's see what else we got here. Check, check, check. I'm gonna switch mics here. I think I was on a different mic, but I want to go to this mic right here. And check, check, check. All right. Switched up mics on you mid-show. Only I can do that. Not only I can do that, but hopefully it sounds pretty good now with the switch up in mics. Let's go ahead and continue on through. So again, just reading the comments from the previous videos, making sure I go back and answer everything. Someone says, glad you're back on the scene. Awesome take as always. Yeah, I do lay a little low after the last game of the season till things kind of get cooking. It's just, smaller media, I have to kind of pace myself. But glad that you're glad I'm back. I'm glad to be back. And thank you all so much for watching. Another glad to see me again. So let me show these guys some love. And then as you're going to see, of course, a lot of comments about Bryce Young and his size, saying he looks like a kid out there. So, I mean, he kind of can, depend on the angles, but, I'm rooting for him. He's our quarterback right now. Here's a good comment that came in. Chris, I need to know why Bryce thinks he's too good to sign autographs. The same fans he won't sign for will be the ones trying to back him when things go bad, and they will go bad. He's a rookie. We pay the bills, show some respect and appreciation. If the coaches and other rookies can sign, he's not special, first pick or not. That's a good one. That's a good one. So I'm going to put that in my back pocket because I know we're not going to get to talk to Bryce every day. But I will certainly ask him if I can beat anybody else to the punch, if that doesn't already happen before I get a chance to talk to him about, signing autographs, first-round draft pick. Fans want to see you, want to meet you, but what are your, thoughts on signing? So we'll try to get that question pitched to Bryce. Thanks for the question, Felix. Another comment regarding a picture of Bryce with Lyman. He's going to die from getting sacked. So, yeah, he just has to be smart. There's no doubt about it that Bryce has to be smart on throwing the ball away, scrambling, but just doing everything to continue to protect himself. He showed that ability in college, so I feel like he'll show that ability in the NFL level for sure. What's up, Leonard Kowalski? Appreciate you signing on. Thank you. Yes, all is well. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you very much. Bryce will lead the league in blocked and batted balls. Let's hope not. But if it happens, I'm going to tell you to be concerned about it. But I still right now feel good about it. Carolina Panther fan 4330 says, I'm excited about this season. Keep up the good content. Appreciate it very much. Another comment on Bryce looking small. Let's see. Tend to go through some of these things. Jonathan Mingo is going to be a beast. So wasn't able to see him at practice this week. We'll get access back next week. But I do like how Mingo was being first in all the drills last week to make sure he got those reps, admitting that he wasn't in football shape, was just in combine shape, and just being hungry to continue to learn. That's something you want to see out of all these guys, is being hungry to get better. And he certainly seems to be that, and I can't wait to look at him in action. Okay, a question that I can't really answer because it was a mixture of a football question and a Carolina Hurricanes, and I do not watch hockey at all. So, unfortunately, Troy Steele, I can't touch that question. I'm so sorry. I would love to, but it just falls a little bit out of my football knowledge going into the hockey knowledge. Somebody requesting no more judgmental comparisons of Bryce Young's size. I have to serve the people, and if people are asking and making comments, I will talk about it from that standpoint. But, I somewhat understand. No, I do understand your comment. You know, he's drafted. He's our guy. He's not going to change. Let's just see what he does now. Uh, Someone else left some positive comments. Sudukumsum as well. So, hey, that'll be it for tonight's show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow as well as tomorrow's Wednesday. So I'll be back Wednesday and Thursday with more reports from talking to other coaches. Have any questions for them, let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Chris Jenkins for Charlotte Vibe.